This week was loud, it was messy, and it really mattered. There was a lot packed into this week, especially for me. And if you're a part of the Lemon Nation, we asked the questions that some folks didn't want asked. We made people uncomfortable and we held power to account, even in spite of our own safety and our own freedom. And what you're about to see isn't just a recap, it is a different perspective on the moments that shaped the week. So here we go. Let's get into it. I appreciate your 2 cents on that, Mr. Attorney General. There, a friend of a protester reached out and said they're concerned. How concerned should these protesters be about being charged?
Well, in the age of Trump, everybody better be concerned. I mean, like I said, in the age of Trump, you got Tish James, James Comey, Jerome Powell, Mark Kelly, and the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of. I mean, these are clearly engaged in legal activity. So I would not tell anybody, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's an idle threat." I believe you will be vindicated. I will believe you will get justice. But between the moment that they try to arrest you or investigate you and when you're finally set free, I think you ought to take them seriously. I do.
This is becoming like the cabinet meeting where they sit around and glaze him and he's pointing out all the people united. No one ever does this on the world stage. Stick to the subject. This is very serious. He's rambling and just being honest. He is not answering the questions. He went from, are you concerned about the economy and the growth to COVID? And then during the speech, he talked about windmills. So what is going on with his cognitive abilities? Like this is crazy. And he stood there looking like, is this over the podium? Like, I'm just saying, as president of the United States, I would prefer someone who is at least acts the part. We need law enforcement, but we need them to abide by the rules. And the people who I worked with, those FBI agents, they were people of integrity. They followed the Constitution, due process. So I know that there are agents who take their job seriously. I know there are people wearing badges who don't want to be the face of this. But systems don't get judged. You're not judging by intentions. You get judged by what you allow, what you see, the actions that you actually do. And what's being allowed right now is kids being caught up in the middle of this, families that are being shaken and torn apart, communities feeling like anything can happen at any time. That little 5-year-old boy is going to remember this.
Students who are part of the Push Excel programs show improved grades and test scores in math and science.
I think that we have to get the Push Excel ideology in every public school district in America. Teachers have to have high expectations. Parents must dream beyond what they can afford to push their children to something better.
She doesn't have the creativity and I believe the intelligence to be able to do something in an articulate way to gain some real attention and to bring light to a subject. What she's doing now is not going to bring light to anything. It's just going to be outrage. It's going to enrage people on social media. It's going to just divide people more. And if she is a true Christian, she should be trying to bring people together and not be so divisive. So I don't buy that at all. I think maybe Nicki Minaj maybe realized that she went too far, and she understands that, like Eliza Minnelli will tell you, or a Mariah Carey, or a Whitney Houston, or whatever, or a Beyonce. The gays are a big part of my fan base, and if I lose the gays, I'm going to lose a lot of money, and I'm going to lose a lot of support. And I think Nicki Minaj realizes that, because if she continues on, on the whatever it is that she's doing, mission or whatever you want to call it, she's going to lose a lot of people who support her, especially Black people who don't put up with that bullshit. There are some MAGA Black folks, and she's going to lose a lot of gay support. So that's what I think it is.
I wonder if she's going to, and the fact is, if you just look at her social media, certainly since she sat down with Erica Kirk, she's lost, I think we were looking at it yesterday, I think it's like 4 or 5 million followers on social media. Now, we should say she still has more than 10 million followers across all platforms. So that's a little blip of what, she's lost. She's probably, though, Don, to what you were just saying, that there are, she's probably gained some followers from MAGA, right? Who maybe they didn't listen to her music and they probably still won't, but they at least love that she's embracing Trump. And so they'll click follow.
A rise in voter suppression, the gerrymandering of political maps, disguised to silence communities rather than empower them. We've seen civil rights protections twisted to defend the privileged instead of righting injustice. Corporations, universities, schools, and museums have been pressured to halt efforts at opening doors of opportunity for all. I'm doing my level best not to call his name. We've watched our I'm not going to do it. My daddy told me not to do it. We've watched our neighborhoods and cities targeted and terrorized, and immigrant communities held under military-type occupation. Thank you, Mayor Johnson, for protecting us from that. Families separated, asylum narrowed, peaceful protests met with force, dissent recast as disorder, and accountability treated as a threat. At the same time, wealth concentrates at the top, while others of us struggle for health care, for food, and for housing, for education. This destructive reaction makes us weaker, not stronger. As the richest and most innovative and most powerful country in the history of the world, we can choose to develop systems that provide adequate housing and health care and quality education for every family if we have the political will to do so. Our people are not failing because they lack effort. In fact, many of them work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. It is the political will that's preventing us from making ends meet, not our efforts. To move, in Reverend Jackson's words, from racial battlegrounds to economic common ground and on to more higher ground. So once more, we're called to recommit ourselves to the vision of Dr. King and the vision of the Rainbow Push Coalition, to educate, to organize, and to galvanize a mighty nonviolent movement that demands justice, seeks peace, and moves us closer to the beloved community. We know the odds are great. We know the times are hard. We know, as Frederick Douglass taught us long ago, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has, and it never will. But we also know from Dr. King's remarkable life that love, applied strategically and disciplined, committed organizations are powerful. More powerful than the greatest armies, more powerful than your richest fortunes, and more powerful than the profits of division and hate. And progress towards a more perfect union is possible if we demand it. Progress towards a growing beloved community is possible if we build it. Progress towards equal justice and protection under the law is possible if we organize rather than agonize, if we choose action over faction, if we embrace service and reject servitude, and yes, as my father would say, if we keep hope alive. And we know from Reverend Jesse Jackson and from the work of Push and the Rainbow that hope is indeed powerful. And to keep hope alive, we must act, we must commit, and we must commit to serve. Thank you very much.
I think that in this moment, this administration has shown that they specialize in the vulgar. And what I mean by vulgar, I mean in the Greek sense of the spectacle. They specialize in the spectacle. What Harmeet Dillon has talked about publicly, first of all, I want to point out, and Monique can back me up on this, how irregular it would be for a sitting division or department leader within the Department of Justice to go on a podcast and talk about a pending criminal investigation. That is unheard of. Kristen Clark sat at the head of the DOJ's Civil Rights Division for 4 years, and we never heard her voice publicly. She spoke with the work that she did. And so this administration specializes in the spectacle. In that way, I would say this is something to take seriously, because for them, this is a matter of trying to, as DL talked about in the last segment, continue to make folk bend the knee, continue to make folk try to capitulate to their demands. And so you, my friend, may have just become a very important historical figure.
Right.
So Donald Trump knows that world. So you got to give that to him. And so the one thing that they're good at is producing what looks like good television. Every single day is produced. Right? We're going to do this. You go on the morning shows, and you're going to deliver this message, and you're going to do that. And then in the afternoon, we're going to do that. We'll have Caroline Levitt will do her thing. She'll lie and yell at the reporters or cut them off or whatever, before they can do a follow-up and before they get to the meat of what's happening. It's a show. It'll enrage people. Fox News will take the whole thing, and then the people at Fox News who watch Fox News will just sit on the couch all day. Maureen, can I have another whatever? Sure, honey. Right? And they're just the TV never changes. Well, why'd you get it yourself? I can't. Such and such and such is on, and you know what he's saying. I sound like a Southerner, and I'm from the South. That's how we talk down there.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does that...
Okay, pause. Do you guys notice that when Donald Trump talks about stuff like that, he starts to sound like a real New Yorker, like deal maker, like boss, like, yeah, now, we're going to talk to the Secretary General of you hear that? Play the second part. He gets real, the New York tease, and he starts about, 2 weeks. That's how he starts to sound, and that's how you know when he's lying. And he said, "Yeah, we're gonna put that building up there. It's gonna be the tallest building in New York. It's gonna be the biggest one, the best views. You'll be able to see all the way to Florida. You'll be able to see the Gulf of Mexico, buddy. You just invest in this."
J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that, trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine.
Okay, here's the thing. They like to talk about brain processing power. So for the thing that got me was that people laughed, and there were kind of applause there, it seemed. I don't know if they were uncomfortable, if it was uncomfortable laughter. But can you imagine if someone who was not a Donald Trump supporter or not a Charlie Kirk supporter had said something like that? Oh my gosh, all hell would break loose. Insensitive. This person should be locked up for blah, oh my gosh. They would lose their minds. And that just shows you the sort of MAGA mentality that anything that will reinforce or reconfirm anything or anybody that reinforces or reconfirms their political beliefs, they're okay with it. Even if that person is saying, or that idea is something harmful to them or negative to them, they will still embrace it as long as you say that you support MAGA and you support Donald Trump. It's a cult. There has been another, if we can put this up, there has been another death from someone who is in ICE custody. Okay, so this person was in ICE custody. The woman who was killed was obviously in the car out on the streets in Minnesota. And then we have another gentleman who's killed by an off-duty ICE agent in Minnesota. Why is the conversation around the church protests, why isn't it about the pastor's relationship to ICE? Is that problematic for their tax-free status? Are they somehow promoting that in the church? Is that part of their sermons? Is it part of their doctrine? I don't know, but I think it should be investigated. What is it if you have someone who is there and you are a preacher and a pastor? Should that not be the story rather than some people who went into the church and using what they believe were their First Amendment rights? I have not seen ever, and I've been here on this earth since the 60s. I have not seen a perfect protest. Just like the people in the churches are not perfect. The reason that they're there confessing their sins to the Lord is because they're not perfect. The protesters aren't perfect either. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. And if you are a God-fearing person, Trump administration officials, repent of your sins. Say that you're sorry and this is wrong. Confess your sins to your Lord, that you are treating people cruelly and inhumanely, and you're not doing what the tenets of religion compels you to do, to help the sick and feed the hungry, to look out and help the least of these, to love your enemy, to turn the other cheek, to love your neighbor. That is not what you're doing at all. And on top of that, you're not abiding by the Constitution. So if you're not doing what that says. That means you're not a Christian, or you're a fake Christian, or you're a fake whatever it is that your religion is. It's fake.
We saw this in World War II when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland. So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory, and hold it we did at great cost and expense. They didn't have a chance of getting on it, and they tried. Denmark knows that.
And so Denmark knows that. The fact that that's not true, because if someone attacks them, then they're obligated to defend Greenland. And he's saying NATO can't do it. That's not true. Article 5 makes sure that they do it. So Donald Trump is full of BS as it relates to that. And of course, I mean, are you surprised that Donald Trump lies about it? Again, always think about what is the ulterior motive here? What is the hidden thing? Why is he doing this? What is the shiny object that he's putting in front of your face so that he can do something else? Sleight of hand behind your back.
This is what I'm saying. Do you think that the only people who are coming here and overstaying their work visas or something like that are just brown people? Because they're not.
Mm-hmm.
If this wasn't about race, that wouldn't be factual. Instances like that, this administration has done everything in its power to sow distrust and to sow the mindset into their followers that diversity makes you weak, when in reality, our strength comes from that we are so different and still have a common goal, which is an idea of a land that is free for all people in it and just for all people in it. So I think that what he said there was great. I think it's also it's detrimental. Like what ICE is doing is detrimental to police departments, because I hear people tell me all the time when I talk about Minneapolis or what happened with Renee Good or something like that. You know, they'll tell me that I'm anti-law enforcement by saying that I'm anti-ICE, and I'm not. I think that what ICE is doing right now is sowing even more distrust between police departments and their communities that they have worked years to bridge the gap. So I mean, and the police chief in Philadelphia said it better than me. She said that, you know, the same thing. She said, you know, like, we've worked really hard to create trust between, you know, the people in our city and our department, and now it's just going to shit. And she's right about that. And it's heartbreaking to watch.
So I'm very proud of what I've done, and I will always be a journalist, and I will always tell you the truth. I don't care what it is. I will always tell you the truth. When I was at CNN, people used to get mad at me, my black people, gay people, everybody. Who are you? You're not standing up for us. I'm like, I'm just giving you the truth. I'm sorry if that doesn't line up. I'm sorry. I understand. I get nuance. I get the history of this country. I get that we come from a history of slavery. I get that we come from a history and a present of slavery and homophobia. I get that. Most of the things, if you read the criticism about me, most of it is, just look at it. It's rooted in homophobia and racism, because you're not used to seeing someone like me do this with authority and a voice and without fear. I'm not afraid. So I hear that Pam Bondi is angry. It doesn't, look, none of that matters to me. And the Megans and the Bennies of the world, that doesn't matter to me. I don't really care about that. But this is just an example. I'm just surprised that someone like Pam Bondi would be angry for someone doing their job, someone abiding by the law. Why would you be angry about that unless you were trying to use it as a weapon rather than to seek the truth and justice? Because you may not like justice, but when justice is served, it is served. And to have the Attorney General of the United States saying that, and I don't look, that's the reporting. I don't know if she is or not, but they're saying she's enraged. It's like, enraged about what? That justice was served?
Hi, my name is Langston Miller, and I'm here to recite an excerpt of a speech from one of my favorite people in history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. I say to you today, my friends, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every city to every hamlet, from every state to every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
State. This, of course, as the legacy media tries to invent a controversy accusing ICE of detaining a 5-year-old boy. I mean, it just amazes me, Tricia, that you're dealing with all the real world.
Did you say the legacy media? What does Newsmax think they are? A blog? Independent? Like Newsmax, wake up call. You're the legacy media. You operate just like any other. You operate just like CNN, MSNBC, Fox. You're all are on TV. You are the legacy media. It's one of those again, one of those phrases. It's like a catchphrase. Newsflash, dun dun dun, breaking news, Newsmax. You are the legacy media. Now, you may not be part of the respected legacy media. You are you're biased but you don't hide it. So at least you are transparent about that. But go on.
Well, first I want to thank you for going to Minneapolis and doing great reporting, and thank you for covering the protest in that church. I mean, the evidence that it was journalism that you did is the journalism you did. You interviewed the protesters, but you also interviewed the members of the church, the clergy, and you did so in a dispassionate and entirely respectful and journalistically sound way. I also want to thank you for your courage and bravery in the face of this sort of lawless intimidation tactic, right? And I think this is something that you are rightfully outraged by, and we should all be not concerned. We should all be alarmed at what's happening right now in this Trump administration. This is, to be clear, this is not law enforcement. It is intimidation, full stop. When the government threatens journalists or critics for doing their jobs, they're not protecting order. It's a warning to stay quiet. And so the worst thing you can do in the face of that is to stay quiet. So kudos to you for not doing that. And we should use you as an example for every other journalist to speak loud and proud about doing their job. The First Amendment exists to protect offensive and critical speeches, right? That's the point. It's not there to make sure that people say nice things. It means the right to say things that anger or speak truth to those in power. Weaponizing access and regulation is censorship in disguise. And when press access and approvals depend on some sort of editorial sort of niceties to an administration, that is authoritarianism, and that's when we've lost democracy. And honestly, we need, enough is enough. We need people to be freaking out about what this administration is doing across many levels, but in particular towards journalists. So I'm deeply, deeply, deeply alarmed about how you have been treated here, and how this just seems to be part of a much more troubling pattern that I don't see abating anytime soon.
So some of the most important things that happened this week and that we covered on the Don Lemon Show. If you're feeling something after watching this, you're not alone. We do this to inform, to challenge, and to make sure that the truth doesn't disappear by Monday morning under all of the distractions. Because sometimes when you're watching in real time and you've got everything going on during the week, there are things that you miss, okay? And there's more to come. See you next time.